Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is? It's time for another comic review. And I think I'm going to stick with this and not do that other style. The other style felt much cleaner and much more, put together. But I prefer this. It feels more candid, more personal, like I'm actually giving you a review instead of I wrote down and I critiqued it and I wrote it, because I'm a dumbass Neanderthal. But anyways, you read the title, you saw the thumbnail. We're talking about the most recent Death Spiral, Spider-Man / Venom Death Spiral. Great comic, honestly. I liked the first few issues. We'll do a general overcap first. So, spoilers on the major points of the story. The major points of the story are Spider-Man's just gotten home, Venom, Eddie Brock. It's Venom and Mary Jane, Spider-Man, Carnage and Eddie Brock, they're together, and they are trying to, not all at once, they all have to get on the same page first, but there's this Torment. His name is Torment, mass murder serial killer. He has this thing where he can see the spirals, see how people are linked to each other, and he has to kill people in a certain order. It's like this mental thing for him that he's a serial killer, but he has to kill them in this certain order until he gets closer and closer to the person that he wants to kill. So he's running all three spirals at the same time, one for Peter Parker, one for Mary Jane, and one for Eddie Brock. And so he's going through their entire family, like everybody that's even closely related to them through name or by family relation. And it's a really cool concept for a villain. And it's this whole murder mystery of who's doing it, why Eddie Brock and Carnage are trying to figure out who's doing this, and he pretty much is trying to keep Carnage in check while Carnage is going behind his back and working with Torment, because Carnage wants to be with the serial killer and not with Eddie Brock. And Mary Jane and Spider-Man are just sort of catching on to this as it gets to right when Eddie Brock realizes that he's going after his family and his father is next. That's when everyone sort of gets on this, and then it's take down the murderer. Simple as that. Carnage bonds with Torment at one point, doesn't really work out, so Torment shoots Shocker's sound wave, and you know how symbiotes are weak to sound, and then bonds with Spider-Man for a little bit, tries to fight for control, but then Spider-Man shows him the hope and being a good person. He's trying to save Carnage. He's like trying to change him and make him good. And I don't think it's gonna work, but it's really cool. I thought it was a really good comic book. Towards the end, it gets a little better with it gets a little better with all the action scenes and the characterization of Spider-Man. I think Venom kind of lacks a bit, Mary Jane and Venom. There's a lot of catching up that Spider-Man has to do, and that's a little boring because that's kind of the only thing that Mary Jane as Venom does, is catch up with Spider-Man. She does some other stuff in the action scenes, but not nearly as influential as Spider-Man or even as Eddie Brock, really. It was just kind of crazy to me. But I did like it. My favorite part about the first couple issues, honestly, Eddie Brock, who isn't Spider-Man or Venom. Just the most interesting plot point for the first 3 or 4. The only thing that really kept me coming back to this book. Otherwise, I would have just skipped it and got it once this whole story arc was over. I would have just got the next Spider-Man book. But that really kept me coming back. I really did like that part. It was really good. Now, the next thing that I need to talk about with this is, I'm not a big Venom reader, so I don't know about how that panned out, but in my personal opinion, I don't think it came at a very good time for Spider-Man, because if you've been following the comics, Spider-Man just got home from space. Literally, Norman has been the Spider-Man on Earth. Peter Parker just got home from outer space. He hasn't fought Hellgate yet. He hasn't really caught up on his life yet. He hasn't apologized to Aunt May. He has to do all of that stuff in this comic book. I think it would have been better if maybe this took place in the months after, and the actual comic books for Spider-Man didn't deal with this at all. I don't know. It was just this weird thing of the entire time I'm reading it, I'm going, so when does he fight Hellgate? When does that? Because that arc, that story hasn't ended yet. That really bothered me, because I can look at the release schedule, and I know that the next one that releases, I think it comes out tomorrow. Well, tomorrow for me. Actually, today for me, it's past midnight. I need to go to bed. And that's not even about Hellgate either. It's about magical time traveling and stuff. And, like, I wish the stories would have resolved before this, because it doesn't make sense. Once Hellgate shows up, I'm gonna be like, okay, but what took you so long? What took you so long? You weren't even... This story is so far removed because of everything else that has happened. What took you so long? Because the entire time that this is happening, there is another symbiote on Earth, by the way. Spider-Man brought it home from space. It's on... I don't know if it's... I don't know what its host is, but Symbi, from his space adventures, is here on Earth. For some reason. And there's no follow-up on that. Just genuinely nothing. And while I do like this, I don't know if Venom was building up to it. If Venom was building up to it, okay, that's fine. I take a little slack back. I just think it came at a really bad time. Because this story, like I said, unless Venom was building up to it, didn't really have to happen right now. We could have had the finish Hellgate, then the magic time traveling portal if we really wanted that one. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. But you can have those two, and then Death Spiral. Like, those two, and then Death Spiral, and then into the next arc. Because the next arc has to do with the stuff that Ben Reilly did at the science lab, at his Peter Parker's job, making the fungus and everything, and Ned kind of messed up I don't know if Ned messed it up. I don't know. I'm actually excited to get to that one, because that's the next arc. But why couldn't we have wrapped up the arcs before we did this? Because it's going to come out of left field in 2 months when I get that comic book, and I'm going to have to, like, sit down and brace myself. Okay, we're going back 3... it's like 5 months. It was only 3 because Death Spiral was coming out really fast. But we have to go back 3 months to remember what happened. I'll probably reread those comics just so I remember what happened in space. I just think it came at a bad time. But honestly, that's my only complaint. My only complaints are if you have been reading Spider-Man and, like, you didn't know if you should get those ones because you didn't want to, or you're behind and you don't are these important to catch up. My only complaints are I feel like it's a bad time narratively, and the first couple issues are kind of boring to me, but Eddie Brock really carries the entire team on his back and pulls this shit along, and it's awesome. And everything else is just goated. It's a really great story. The drawings, I think, are really good across all 3 books, because the first one is Spider-Man / Venom Death Spiral, and then it alternates between Venom comics and Spider-Man comics, which has thrown off my organization of my comics, but whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's really good. I told you the story, I told you what I didn't like, which really isn't that much, and not much that the comics itself can control, and definitely not the authors or writers. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Been meaning to do this one for a little bit, so I'm glad I finally got around to it. See you guys in the next one. What will or something like that. Put away.